If you've lost distance with your iron shots, or you'd just like to hit your irons further, this video is going to help you to do just that by explaining how you need to move the club with your wrists to put it into the perfect delivery position. I'm going to utilize how the club face moves and this training aid device which sticks onto the face of the club here to show you guys exactly what you're doing with your wrists, which is either hurting you or helping you to be a better ball striker and a longer hitter. For the purpose of showing you exactly what's going on with the club face and ultimately the wrists, we're going to use the HackMotion wrist sensor throughout this video to help you to see what's going on. Ultimately, controlling the club face is the key part to adding more distance to your irons. I would say that the most common pattern I see in golfers who struggle to hit their irons particularly far is a club face that's too open, generally speaking, which leads to an impact position where the club face has too much loft on it when the golfer hits the ball. Let me show you exactly what that looks like using this training aid tool that just sticks to the face of this 7-iron that I have here. It helps you to really see where the loft of the club is being projected, both in terms of a lower or higher ball flight from this front view, and also from a left and right point of view, directional point of view from this down the line view where I twist this club face. How I twist it influences where that loft is pointing, and that's changing throughout the entire golf swing. If I set up to the golf ball or to the side of the ball here, just to show you what I mean, the golfers who hit the ball the shortest tend to hit with a face that's more open. So you see how that club face is now pointing more up, the loft is pointing more to the right. And as I come down, if I don't do anything about that alignment, I'm going to hit the ball way to the right, completely non-functional. So what really ends up happening is golfers lean back with their weight and do all sorts of things to try to allow this club face to get reasonably square. So from this down the line perspective, you see how this stick's now pointing more or less at the target. But in order for me to achieve that with poor wrist angles, I now have this look from the front view where my weight's on my back foot, the club head has already overtaken my hands, I have this flipping condition, and just look how high that stick's pointing. The amount of loft that I've added to this 7-iron has turned it from a 7-iron into almost a 9-iron. That's why you're not hitting the ball very far. To hit the ball further, you want to deliver less dynamic loft. That means the shaft is more forward when you hit the ball. And from this down the line view, the face is still functional, it's pointing at the target, but notice now how the stick is lower or closer to the ground. I'm able to turn this 7-iron into maybe a 6-iron. I'm also able to hit higher up on the club face, which is where the sweet spot is, and get the maximum ball speed. But I can't achieve this picture, I cannot achieve this look with a club that's coming down open. As I've already said, if I tried to maintain that alignment and come down with my hands forward, look where that club face is pointing. It's completely non-functional, yet you don't see it because this is happening so quickly. On the HackMotion, what that would look like if you practiced with it would be that as you came down, you would see that your wrist was still in extension. You see there on the HackMotion, I have my wrist in 33 degrees of extension. That's pointing the club face up. Means I've got a non-functional pattern unless my body stalls and I flip my club and roll my wrists. That's no way to play golf, at least not if you want to be a good golfer. What the best players are doing, and the way that you'd want to change your pattern, would be that as you come down, you'd actually move that lead wrist into some flexion. Twist it ever so slightly down, and notice how the stick on the club face is now looking more down towards the ground. That's a tremendously different position in which to deliver the club, and it allows you to really turn your body into the ball and deliver that club with maximum efficiency. You're getting all of the transfer out of the speed that you're able to create into the ball. You're not wasting it. The golfer who has the club face open has to stall their body, oftentimes has to swing across the ball, swiping across from out to in, causing that weak slice to happen. So I'll show you those two different shots, but ultimately it's going to come down to how these wrists are moving. I'll show you what you need to do in your practice to be able to achieve those desirable wrist conditions. So let me start with the typical poorer pattern of hitting the ball high, losing distance with a face that's too open. Again, the HackMotion is going to show the extension in my wrist there, which I don't want. And even if I don't have the stick attached to my club here, the rod that was magnetically attached to the face of the club, you can still see that this club face is pointing up towards the sky. That's the open condition that we want to avoid. Let me show you what would happen if I hit a ball like that. Really poor strike, high ball that slices and curves off into the trees. Very little speed there at all. The ball carried 117 yards. That's a 7-iron, remember. I'll do another one of those. I mean, I really didn't hit that very nicely at all. It feels very uncomfortable to do it that way, but lots of you are doing it this way, unknowingly, spinning this club face open, delivering too much loft. That was a slightly better strike. Ball's still going to curve off to the right. As a more established player who knows where my club face is, it's actually very hard for me to slice the ball a huge amount unless I think about it, because my brain unconsciously wants to try and fix this thing and try to put it back into position. But you'll see there from the HackMotion data that I was too extended with my wrist at the top, and I was also too extended with this wrist at impact. That opens the club face, produces this weak shot to the right. That's why you're losing distance with your irons. Let's go ahead now and hit one where I show you the movement of the wrist that puts the club face into that stronger condition and allows us to add significant distance to our iron shots. Quick question for you. Did you know that 80% of your golf ball's direction comes from the club face angle at impact? And it's your wrists that control that angle. If you want to hit straighter shots and add more distance to your game, then check out the link in the description below. So the opposite of extension is flexion. The opposite of extension, club face open, is flexion, club face down. And again, if you don't have the rod coming off the club face, you can still learn to look at this club face and see what it should look like. Club face pointing slightly down as you swing down towards the ball is the desired look that we're going for. So that's the exercise that you can practice. You can go to the top of your swing, swing down to where the shaft is more or less parallel to the ground, go up and come down, and just check that that club face has a small amount of turn in it, so it's pointing slightly towards the ground. If you come down and stop and you see that your face is straight up and down or even pointing slightly up to the sky, you'll know that your natural pattern with which you pull down is not correct. It may feel natural, it may feel comfortable, but it's not at all efficient. You're wasting a lot of energy. So you need to see that club face looking down to the ground as you practice. This would be the drill to do. Go to the top, move the club down to this shaft parallel to the ground position. As I say, the club face looking down towards the ball. You can even just move the club from there to impact, and notice how with the face turned down and the body rotation, you're able to create this lovely alignment from the front view here with the shaft forwards and the club face de-lofted. There's that extra power that we're looking for. Once you've tried that a few times, we go ahead and hit some. We'd expect the balls to draw, and we'd expect the balls to go significantly further. That's a very different shot. You remember that first one I hit, 117 yards carry, very inefficient, off into the woods. That one's finished pretty much bang on my target, lovely draw. That one carried 170 yards, 169 actually, 169 yards versus 117 yards, 52 yards difference. That's ridiculous. Just by being able to put the club face in the right position so that the delivery of this club becomes more efficient naturally. A lot of things will happen for you that are very positive once you learn how to move your wrists and ultimately the club face into the correct position. So much of the wasted energy is just your lack of understanding that you've got this club face in the wrong location. So go ahead and practice this. If you have HackMotion, you can look on the data to see what you're getting. You'll see there at the top of the swing, I was very slightly too flexed. That's a good problem to have if you're a slicer or you're lacking power. And then at impact, I was able to deliver the right amount of flexion in that lead wrist. The flex in the lead wrist is really what's helping to produce the shaft lean from this front view. And as I said already, it's the shaft lean that creates the lower dynamic loft, which increases the ball speed and maximizes your distance. I hope you found the video useful. If you did and you'd like to learn more about how the wrists work in the golf swing, I'd encourage you to click on the link in the description of this video, which will take you to further videos that I've made for HackMotion, which will teach you how to train your wrists for the best golf of your life.